The wacky world of MultimediaJay.
Oh, wait a minute. It's not even out of the box yet. Hold on a second.
Epic fail.
Oh yeah, your project area's really got it going on, baby. Whatever. I sacrificed most of my overtime from this week from Heavy Warehouse Volume to get home early today and make sure that this system could get built maybe tonight. First, we gotta see if this is damaged, though. Looks like someone was playing bumper fork trucks in the warehouse or something. So let's make sure the case is okay. I hope that Fractal has the common sense and decency to use styrofoam stuff, but today is Monolith Day. We're gonna see what we can get done and see what we can get working and what's gonna happen to Tuxedo after this. How is everything gonna be all shuffled up and stuff? First, in order of business. The weather outside is absolutely beautiful. It's our best day, weather-wise, all week long. Open some windows, start cycling some air. No AC required, box fans only. It's gotta be amazing. Just like this computer when it's built. If nobody else spills grease on it, or whatever that is. Yeah, I guess this can double as vendor compliance footage if I have to call customer service. Vendor compliance? This isn't B2B. Whatever. As predicted, the box has a little bit of play. Let's see what speaking of play, let's see what we have to play with, darn it. There it is, finally, I get to see one of these things in person. I've been gawking at this thing on the internet for how long now? Browser shopping, baby. This is the Fractal Design Define R5, that standard setter of an enthusiast case that the Tech Syndicate folks are all about. Matter of fact, I was jamming out to the gaze of Raccoons while putting the fans in the windows. So anyways, there's the Vihander theme song. Little button, seems kind of flimsy, but so do all these power buttons these days. USB 2, USB 3, although I am curious, it looks like there's a difference electrically in the connectors. I've wondered what would happen if I hooked these up to a USB 3 header on the motherboard. The Moduvent system, actually, I don't like having something that doesn't look smooth on top. In case, liquids, I don't want it killing the whole system. So I have the option of putting radiators and fans in here. Probably just going to use fans. Nothing exciting whatsoever. I just needed a black box. I didn't need something that looked like a spaceship relic from a LAN party or something. The door still opens the same way as the Tuxedo one does, but there's only room for 2 optical drives. So the plan is combo drive, we'll start with DVD, eventually it'll do Blu-ray, and then the fan controller will be here. We also have the switch for the fan controller here for basically to change everything at once. I don't like that. Probably not going to use it. I'd rather control fans individually because we're going to have 1, 2 in the front, and then in the back we'll have an exhaust fan, which I imagine this already comes with. Let's check the back here. Power supply on the bottom, therefore a dust sucker case and a Fractal Silent Series 140, which will not be staying in this system. Ooh, they got those little things for turbulence now. Definitely the newest one. Maybe this will be Tuxedo's newest exhaust fan. But yeah, I didn't buy a bunch of Venturis to end up using something like this. Some relics of the old Tuxedo days, some of these slot covers and things like that. One thing I will be doing differently, I'm going to find a place to store the spare parts. That's not up for discussion. I'm sick of drive covers and other things going missing on me, so, by the way, the anti-static thingy is so the case doesn't get scratched. I've been doing that kind of wrong with Tuxedo lately. So, yeah, 140 in the back. I'm not going to make use of the enthusiast fans for people that overclock like crazy, as I won't be overclocking like crazy until maybe when the processor gets a few years on it. As was the case with the 1090T. Let's pop this thing open and see if we have any more goodies, like screws, nuts, and bolts? If not, Mr. Backup is right there. Nice, 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 and more nice. That's for the front panel and all that fun stuff. We have rubber grommets for cable management because this case actually has some cable management options. There's some space back there. So we can have everything go behind everything and pop out through here. So also the drive thingies will support SSDs right out of the box, unlike Tuxedo. It does share Tuxedo's colors in that respect, but they come out at an angle, so no more pinch point with the graphics card. Just have to make sure the graphics card fits here, although it's going to be up here-ish. No, it's going to be up here somewhere. And of course we got, oh, it looks like we have some more stuff. Yeah, we got some more fans to figure out, so those will be coming out. I didn't buy Venturis to switch back to stock fans and whatnot. These are new. These are going to be Tuxedo's new fans once I get them out of here. Yeah, motherboard can go here. There's plenty of room for the backplate for the third-party cooling, and we have our drive, of course, drives up here. This is turning into like a Joanne Tech Lover video where I'm just oohing and ahhing around the case. And, right. It's great though. This thing is designed with SSDs in mind right out of the box, so no need to buy 2.5 to 3.5 adapters anymore, and I can have plenty of drives, and I can have the wiring back there somewhere, not spaghettiing in front of anything. I very much want this to be the cleanest looking system that I've ever put together. One more thing before we start really getting into the thick of things. Size comparison versus Tuxedo. It's shorter, longer, and fatter. There's some bad jokes in there somewhere, I imagine. Oh yeah, and before I forget, the reason why I got this instead of the Define XL R2, the whole dust filter for the entire, all the way back to the back of the computer, comes out through the front. Very easy cleaning. The old models you had to spin the machine around, things like that, to get it to come out the back. Not this one though. I imagine this opens up to, yep, there's the other 140 that's gonna be in Tuxedo at some point. Well, actually, Tuxedo only has room for one 140 with that funnel. Yeah, we'll get to that at some point. For now though, let's get the new one up and running and put the Venturis in there. Oh look, I'll bet that's mounting hardware, isn't it? There we go. As predicted, the mounting hardware was just floating one of the drive thingies, so that's pretty good. First major departure from previous builds, micro ATX for the main system board. I don't really need the kinds of slots that I used to need anymore. I'm not going to do double video cards anymore, and all I might need is a sound card. So this worked out quite well for under 100. It's got 4 RAM slots, whereas most of the other bargain boards in the Super Combo kits only had 2 slots. I don't know if there's some wind noise from running the fan. The weather's kind of sort of not cooperating right now. A little bit too much humidity to be doing this, but we'll try anyways. The biggest challenge is going to be third-party cooling right off the get-go. So how's that going to work? I haven't installed a Hyper 212 Evo on Intel's side before. Probably uses different stuff than AMD side. This is looking promising though. Plenty of space for airflow. I could even maybe flip the power supply over, not have it starve the video card of air. But this dust sucker case takes air in directly through the bottom, so it doesn't get the heat from the processor and everything anymore. And of course, we'll squeeze in a Venturi once everything's all complete. I do want to at least wipe down all the equipment from the previous system, though, before seeing what I can do here. All right, first thing we want to do is get that processor in here by whatever means are necessary. Skylake 6700K. The king of processors other than those rich kid chips that are $1,000+ each. At least for now. We don't know what the AMD Zen's going to do in the next year or so, but for anyone building in 2016, well, here I go with that 2016 thing again. We are in! Woohoo! But unfortunately I see a fingerprint smudge. Finger oil can take out a projector bulb, so we're going to use one of these thingies to clean that off before putting the thermal interface material on for the first time. Now I gotta read the directions on how to install that Hyper 212 Evo again. This is the most nerve-wrenching part. Nerve-wrenching? Let's just get it working. It's a freaking i7, darn it! And it's Skylake. If this were my old electronics shop back in the day, this is the part where the shop instructor would be like, is it a computer yet? We got just enough. I'll start everything up. I plugged in the USB just for the hell of it. We got those fidgety little things, always the most annoying part of installing anything. This Asus board is returning to the Asus brand, which is a motherboard brand I've had a ton of luck with over the years. No Venturi yet, but we did get the Cooler Master in. So annoying working with these big coolers. Now that's why that's why I hope the thermal material lasts a couple of years, because fidgeting with these things is so obnoxious. But at least it lets me use a 120 millimeter fan to cool it instead of whatever stock coolers come with these days. G-Skill Ripjaws again, since I did manage to get them working in the old system and they were on sale. G-Skill Ripjaws, this is DDR4. I'm not cheaping out with DDR3 like I was talking about at one point. So full-on DDR4. It's achieved enough critical mass actually that everything's cheaper. Now this is a spaghetti mess in the back because the wires are all getting pulled through the cable management, as you can see. But we've got just enough stuff to apply power and see if it turns on. We'll use the onboard graphics with the Intel Iris or whatever it's called, just to see if it starts. Man, this is like turning into a car video of sorts. Let's see if the thing will start now. Monolith Frankenstein time. The quest for disk boot failure begins now. 3, 2, 1. There is no power light. The power light is wrong. Drive light? Is this thing even gonna beep if there's a code? Ah, we have liftoff! Please push the button to get an American Megatrends. New CPU installed. Please enter setup to configure your system. No, really? American Megatrends. I haven't seen that name since the 90s. Yeah, my screen's dirty too. Ooh, UEFI, if the thing would ever focus. Look, a Blue Yeti. Look, a screen. Yeah, it is 3:45. It's got the right time zone right off the bat. Oh, using a mouse in the BIOS. I'm so spoiled. 4 gigahertz, 700 RPM on the processor fan. I have no idea what XMP is. I'll read the effing directions later. Thank you very much. We don't even have a case fan in this thing yet. 32 degrees on the processor, so the Core i7 hasn't barbecued itself yet. The RAM is 16 gigs of DDR4 2133. I'm very concerned because, as you know, Intel had its problems with its thermal interface material underneath. Supposedly they fixed that since Haswell, but I don't intend on overclocking this thing anytime soon anyways. 29 Celsius on the motherboard, which is probably the ambient because it is in the 80s over here. It is summertime, so this is with 0 fans whatsoever except the processor fan. So it looks like the Arctic Silver is actually working. Woohoo! Easy system tuning, we have quiet performance, energy saving. That looks cool. I think we're good to go then. If this thing doesn't barbecue itself in the next 5 minutes, I think we've got ourselves a system here. We can start transferring parts over from Tuxedo, beginning with the SSD that's going to be used for the OS. So anyways, let's see our disk boot failure here. Save and exit.
You have not made any changes to the settings.
Of course I haven't. We'll do that later. Whatever. I would like to get rid of the Asus logo. Yeah? Oh, okay.
Takes a while to save your settings to the CMOS.
Disk boot failure. Insert system disk and press enter. Right? Ah, it doesn't even beep. This thing doesn't even have a built-in speaker. I guess that kind of got old anyways. Today's I gotta clean the screen off again. And it's back in the BIOS. Come on. Boot menu.
The system cannot find any bootable devices.
Oh. Yeah, where have I been for the last 6 years? The thing is smart enough that if it can't boot off anything, it just gives you a nice little BIOS screen. So you don't have to okay, so I am getting old. Disk boot failure is a thing of the past, apparently. Ugh. At least it is detecting as a proper 6700K at 4 gigahertz, etc. Well, let's just watch the 34, 35. Okay, 30s is good. 30s is good. It's probably running full blast anyways. Tuxedo right now, with no power save anything on, gets into the 40s. So even with the aftermarket cooling, we also gotta have that stuff cure as well before it's at full efficiency or something like that. Anyways, it's cool that we have little pictures. We got fan controls, we can change fan curves. XMP, I don't know what it is, so I'm gonna leave it alone because I'm not stupid like that. You can click and drag boot priority. I'm so spoiled here. Well now, I think we're good. Let's start putting some fans, the whole 9 yards, and whatever's coming out of Tuxedo can get mounted next. Oh, we can do a burn-in test or something like that to see if, well, it is staying in the 30s. We have liftoff. Monolith is now cook testing, and we'll see how hot it gets when it's just running and running with terrible cooling. In the meantime, it's Tuxedo's turn to be on the operating table, so to speak. Everything that's going into the new system, let's get it out of here. And I'm not so sure about this outside fan thing anymore either. Actually, I just gotta buy a grill and I can have something. We gotta take the fan controller out. So, I don't think the motherboard has the ports to support all of these fans, but we'll see. We'll rehab this thing later. In the meantime, the Venturis are already out, and here's what else is out. Graphics card, out. Drive cages with drives, out. Fan controller, out. One of the 2 optical drives, out. Those baby blue SATA cables that aren't gonna match anything in the new case. Whatever, out. MultimediaJay, out. Just kidding. Ugh. I've just found out how Asus sells some accessories. There's one of the SATA cables that came with the motherboard. It is a tiny bit smaller than the monoprice one, but just enough of a very close tolerance that you can still use this serial ATA port with a full-size graphics card. This one's the same way. So I gotta find out what model that is or get something extremely low profile that'll fit, that I'll be able to get all the SATA ports. We'll see if I can make do with 5 right now, but very fine engineering tolerances apparently with this micro ATX board. Or I can stop trying to use a full-size graphics card with it. Whatever. There, that's good enough. Solids, optical, and a fan controller. No mechanical drives yet because it looks like I'm not going to have as many drives in this thing as I did in Tuxedo, which is by design. I want to eliminate the drives that I wasn't actually using on a regular basis. Or, with this setup, and how hot swappable SATA is, I could always load up more drives and then flip a few cables around by popping off the back panel. Just gotta fix the cable management because this thing barely even closed on the other side. So we'll fix that at some point later on. I just want to enjoy the new machine sometime tonight. Preferably get Windows working on it and other things. We have the 2 SSDs, so we're all set to game. Let's just get everything working. Okay, the moment is finally here. Monolith maiden voyage time. We're gonna start G-parted to remove the old installation and put Windows, a fresh copy of Windows on the SSD. No mechanical drives yet. We'll deal with those later. For now, though, let's see what it sounds like. 140 millimeter out of the box. Just makes a nice light hum. I just want to go into the BIOS. It just has a nice little blue light this time. Just trying to get into the BIOS here. It looks like we're live here. Now, if we turn down the fans, it drops to that. Nice. I don't care if it's a little loud, it's summertime. But the fun part is, turn down everything except the last one, and only the back keeps going. And it sounds like that. Alright, let's put some real fans back on because it's hot in here. Ah yeah, now we're cooking. Windows is now genuine with a license for Windows 10 Home, and it's a retail license. Now, I'm deviating from another old practice of mine, which was buying OEM versions of Windows because of the licensing issues with OEM versions of Windows. They live and die on the hardware they're installed on. So yeah, they're cheaper, but if you ever change out the motherboard, then that's it. I don't think they'll give you any breaks if you called them up or anything or something along those lines, but yeah, what I'd like to do is allow for motherboard upgrades via this license, not have it on more than one device at a time, things along those lines. And Windows 10 Home, yeah, I suppose it's worth it for however many computers I want to have if I don't have an OEM license for, say, something I buy like a laptop. But for the desktops, definitely. So the last thing to do is figure out the mechanical drive conundrum, which is that the motherboard is a little bit limited on SATA capabilities for now, until I can figure out what to do about that video card. I need an extremely low profile, 90-degree angle SATA cable in order to have any chance whatsoever of using all the drives from the previous system. Not that I want to anyways. One of the things I want to do with Tuxedo is make it into the server that this thing can be backed up to over the network. So the extra drive, the SSD backup, everything that I would only want to use when I was backing something up, just fire up Tuxedo for that. Back one drive up to the other or something along those lines. So we're not done with Tuxedo. Not even close. I might even do the Silver Bullet as the server, and then have Tuxedo simply have Tuxedo as the system I take over the folks' place to play some games. But that's something we'll figure out later on. For now, though, I want to be up and running i7 full functionality and able to play some games before I call it a night tonight. I want to be able to go into work tomorrow and brag about how leaving early is why this new computer was up and running the same day. I may lose some sleep in the deal, but that's nothing unusual with how things have been lately. Okay, got a few more things to do, but you all know that this would not be a video looking at computer hardware unless we ran Nova Bench. Ready? Floating points. This is awesome because I've already run it before. So the motherboard is in power save mode for when it first starts up, and then Windows is in balance mode. Got the kilowatt going too, but check this out. MD5 hash, RAM transfer, we got DDR4 instead of DDR3. Now, 3,500 frames per second on that 800 by 600 patch that tests the graphics. So as opposed to 1600, so that's doubled. And now drive write speed, although I do have a slot for an M2 SSD now. And 2506. CPU previously 570 at stock clocks is now 945 at stock clocks. And that 1060 has been completely unleashed due to the faster processor feeding it data a lot better, or something along those lines. So now the previously 400, 500 is now 1257. So that's a far more respectable score for a machine. And I've also tried playing World of Warcraft earlier with close to max settings, and nothing slowed down, even during a big fight with one of those Legion invasions that are going on right now. This one is going on the profile. It'll be the second such score. I don't think it's the... Yeah, 2517. I don't think it's the... Was this... No, 2506. So I have done better. Actually, let's make this one anonymous. We'll make this one anonymous. So 2517 is the best score I've gotten so far, but you see where I'm coming from, right? Now we'll be doing a basic kilowatt run, although this deserves a little bit more of an in-depth investigation. So that fires up. The drive light's not working, even though there's a thing for it. I'll have to see where the drive light is. But watch, notice how before this couldn't do any kind of... Notice how before that Tuxedo couldn't do anything below the 100 watt mark, unless you turned off some fans. Long day, but it's been worth it. Notice the 2-digit... Oh, look, we broke the 100 watt mark when everything was running full blast. During the startup phase, the motherboard is set to power save mode. Motherboard set to power save mode, and it's Windows that has regular audio here. Just getting the sound here. HDMI sounds a little glitchy. Trying to get it to play the Windows startup sounds. Fresh install, there's still some updates downloading. But notice 73, 69, these are the kinds of 54, 30 to 60 watts is kind of what my dad has on that Core i3 Haswell that he has with the Lenovo box. So immediately, massive difference in the power consumption. So that would mean massive difference in the heat, massive difference in how much the fans need to do their thing. And of course, we can turn down the fan controller, turn all the fans down all the way, even though it's summer, it's probably not a good idea. So in the wintertime, when everything gets more expensive because of heating costs and stuff like that, now we're into creak. Now we're into the 30s when everything is idling. 38 watts. That's laptop territory. The crap top from 2010 could get down that low. Let me see what the minimum. It's oh no, the processor, despite being 30-something watts, the processor's still doing something at 4 gigahertz. Wait until, well, let's change it over to power save mode. Let's see how much lower it goes. Power save mode, boom, down to 800 megahertz, and now 34. So a more efficient power supply needs to be on the upgrade path for this thing to see how much lower this can go. But there we go, 34 watts. Let's put it back into balance mode. And let's actually, World of Warcraft's up and running. I was testing it earlier, and the thing wouldn't slow down for anything. Big raid fight, stuff going every which way, setting 7, the defaults, or the recommendeds. I might try higher though, now that I've got the hardware to handle it. So 72, 74, there's the logon. Now we're approaching the 200 watt mark. But before it was full blast. Before it was full blast at 300 watts. Let's load up Mr. Goodmain here. This thing, now it's down under 100 watts. Maybe it's not loading the game anymore. 93, 93. Alright, we're going around Dunmer. Oh!
Get ready! Here they come!
I don't want to do another Legion invasion here. But yeah, almost 200 watts or so. So we've cut 100 watts out of the full blast power draw for improved performance. This is running at a higher setting and there's just no slowdowns. Of course, it's not a very demanding game, at least by today's standards, but it's still a nice little 60 frame per second cartoon. And this is before turning on adaptive VSync to turn the VSync on if the frame rate's above 60. So this could probably go lower. Matter of fact, let's do that. There we go. Notice how we're in the 40s wattage-wise. So adaptive VSync is the new global setting. So let's fire the game back up here. Here we go, 60, 80, 90, 150, 170, 160. That is watts and not VA, right? 90, now we're back under 100 watts. Of course, when we get some 3D going, that's going to change, right?
Blades at the ready! We got incoming!
Nope, I do not want to do this one again. Just got done doing 2 of these things. Guy's already got most of the gear. But notice, 169 watts, 172 watts, just flying around and stuff like that. There's a bit of a problem where you start the game up and it stutters a couple of times, but only when you first start the game. Don't know if I might have to re-download the game or if it's a known issue. This thing's doing some stuttering, but it was doing stuttering on the old system too. 168, we're just going to fly over where people are fighting the monsters, where there's a little bit more action going on the screen, but we are moving in game. And it's not clearing 200 watts. Yeah, see? Steel Grills Depot. Here's where there's some stuff going on here. Alright, there's going to be a little fly on the wall here with all this stuff going on. Not breaking 200 watts. We have adaptive V-Syncs that might keep the heat, cut the heat a bit by limiting things to 60 FPS when it hits 60, which is what the television can do anyways. So I think we got it. The next thing I'm curious about, let's close the game down. The next thing I'm curious about is playing a fast game like Burnout Paradise or something, or Test Drive Unlimited, or Test Drive Unlimited 2, something with a lot of speed in it. How, max everything out, see how smooth everything is, especially TDU2. I tended to struggle with that sort of thing. Look at that, we're down into the 30s now. You know what? Let's do one more thing. Let's play the game in power save mode. Here's power save, right? 39.6, 36 watts now. 36 watts, 37 watts. with the exact same settings, fire the game back up. Let's fly around and see what's going on here. Okay, you ready? We're in the 60s. We're going to try this in power save mode. This is something I would have never attempted on Tuxedo. Oh, we zoomed a bit. Come on, start up. Darn SSD. I gotta get the drive light working. I think the polarity's reversed for the LED. Alright, Mr. Goodmain. 150, 73, 74. I want to see what the performance drop is too, because in Nova Bench, the performance drop is very atrocious. I think passive cooling on the i7 slows way down. Let's see if it can do it or not. Oof, I'm waiting for stuff to load now. Yeah, 65 watts though. Oh man, this is...
Doom of your world is upon you.
Yeah, it gets to 150 eventually. This is performance more akin to Tuxedo.
Stand strong! Show them demons their man take Iron Forge!
Ah, stutter, stutter, stutter. And the stutters are taking longer now. The stutters are taking longer now because I'm in power save mode. 130, 101, 71, 70. Look at this, sub 100 watt. Oh, well, no. As soon as the game stops stuttering here, if Blizzard would ever fix this glitch, this would be amazing. Look, 130 watts, 150 watts. Okay, so we're back into the mid-hundreds. However, we're back into the mid-hundreds now. So half the wattage, maybe, of half of the wattage, basically half the wattage of what we had on the old system. Now, let's go back to that setting again for render scale. The recommended for the new graphics card is 180%. If we cut this down to 100% and only render it for 1080p, it'll look a little bit worse as far as textures go. However, 70 watts, 70 watts, 70 watts, 70 watts, 70 watts. Oh, wait, now we're heading towards 100. This is what heated up the graphics card so much. It doesn't look that much worse either. Oh, ooh, we finally went 3-digit. But we're flying around Dun Moreau, or whatever it is. Let's see this. Okay, let's get a lot of action on the screen with the event that's going on right now. Now we're getting some slowdowns and stuttering. So, yeah, power save mode has its limits. What would be cool is an app that auto-switched. So when you started a game, it changed over to balance mode. And then when you stopped, because in power save mode, when you stop, look at this. So let's get out of the game, which is going to take longer to close because we're in power save mode. 45, 43, 43, almost laptop wattage draw from a desktop. So you can turn the speed on and off. Probably can surf the web and do basic stuff at laptop levels of power draw. Well, old, not so efficient laptop levels of power draw. Today's laptops can do, like, the Turd Shiba, for example, 10 watts when it's idling. This thing, meanwhile, let's open up Google Chrome and let's just scroll around a bit. Let's go to a web page like Gigahome? I thought they went out of business. Either or. So let's scroll around a web page a little. Move to some graphic load that way, but no, 40 watts. So the interesting part is, let's go back to balance mode. 30 watts. We're in balance mode now, and we're in the 30s as far as wattage goes. Oh, there we go, 40s, oh, back to the 30s. This is the kind of system that I wanted to build. It can crank up when it needs to crank up, and then drop way down to laptop-ish levels of power consumption. If I get a more efficient power supply, how much lower will this go? We're done. It's very much a computer now. The hard drive light is fixed. Basically, this light flickers to indicate drive activity now. And we're done. We'll do the 2001 reference at some other time, because we got some cleaning up to do, and we got to address some of the issues with the lack of ports, or at least the one that's getting covered up by the graphics card. We'll deal with that some other day. And so it was on Monolith's first day as the new main system. Till next time, this is MultimediaJay signing off. Thanks for stopping by.